Is Tory piracy on the high Tees side? These are the interesting times. Hello everyone, my name's Matt Johnson and welcome to the Wednesday Interesting Times, which is a show that likes to take a sideways swipe at politics right here in the UK. So our main story starts with two individuals who at the time were only too happy to smile for the camera and act like everything was okay. But we all know that behind the scenes it was a toxic environment.
Hi folks, I'm here with Chancellor Rishi on the day after the budget, and appropriately we've come to Teesport, which is one of the great ports, which is the gateway to global Britain. And as a new and independent global Britain, we're going to use the opportunity provided by these free ports over customs and taxation and all sorts of things to turbocharge growth in every part of the United Kingdom.
All sounds very good. So the government is putting money into the area to rejuvenate what has been, after all, a fairly run-down part of the country for the last few years. And with Ben Halshen, the local Tory mayor, Simon Clarke, the local Tory MP, and of course not forgetting our wonderful Tory government overseeing everything, what could possibly go wrong? Let's start at the beginning. There is an area in Teesside, northeastern part of England, that is the home of Europe's biggest brownfield site. That is a site which has been previously developed. It was bought by the South Tees Development Corporation, STDC, a local publicly funded consortium who took over the site in 2017, shortly after Ben Halshen got elected Teesside's mayor in December 2016. Now, this all gets a bit involved, but please bear with me. So, the tire company that owned the Teesside area didn't want to sell. So the STDC threatened to use something called a compulsory purchase order, or a CPO, which basically is an order from the government saying that they will purchase the land without your consent. At the same time, DCS, private property developers headed by Chris Musgrave and Martin Corney, also wanted to buy the land, but they agreed to drop their offer if the STDC dropped the CPO. Keeping up? Good. They were then given 50% shares in a company called Teesworks, with STDC owning the other half. Not knowing why that happened. That then turned into 90%. Again, unclear why that happened, as this was done privately. Now, the idea behind the Freeport is a public and private joint venture, and the public has put in so far £250 million to clean up the area with no return, and two private property developers have put in no money and have got a 90% take in what was a publicly owned company. There also gets the initial claims on scrap on the property, currently believed to be approximately £100 million, and also is able to buy the property at about £1 per acre. They have already purchased two pieces of land worth over £100 million for £108. Now, I appreciate this looks bad, but don't worry, as this is all part of Ben Halshen's cunning plan.
So my question is, how much have the private developers spent so far?
People need to see what is a very complex picture, need to see the full picture. So £240 million spent by us still means that that site is worth a significant minus value. In the same way, if I tried to sell you a house and I said, you can have my 4-bedroom house, but the roof's fallen in, somebody set fire to it, the windows have all been knocked in and the walls are falling down. Exactly.
It's just like buying a house with the windows done in.
That's again, their liability to deliver jobs.
If I may, for the third time, how much have they spent so far?
So £107 million for the redevelopment of the new quay that's being built. We're not paying a penny for that. They're paying all £107 million. We just signed BP and Ecuador as well.
So thus far, they haven't invested anything, correct?
These are projects of international scale. This isn't like building a small shed on an industrial park.
Or indeed buying a house with the windows done in. All right, so not only have the investors put nothing in, but that £107 million loan he talked about is from the Infrastructure Bank, who are, you guessed it, owned by the Treasury and financially backed by the taxpayer. And the BP and Equinor contracts he claims that are definitely coming in may not happen, as it appears they have put a clause into the contract asking that the Freeport is not corrupt. And it comes to something when the people responsible for literally making money from the climate crisis is having to turn around and say, OK, we may burn fuel for profits that will endanger all living things, but the Conservative parties involved, we want assurances. And the assurances so far are that the Levelling Up Secretary, Dahana Davidson, found no evidence of corruption or illegality involving Tory Mayor Ben Halshen and Tory MP Simon Clarke. Whew! There you go, that's that.
You've got some breaking news for us tonight.
Dehenna Davidson said that the government has found no evidence here of corruption, wrongdoing or illegality in this project. Now, some eyebrows have been raised in Labour circles because this minister has received a donation from a local businessman who has a minority holding in Teesworks Limited. He's also made donations to Simon Clarke, the former cabinet minister you saw in my film, and indeed to Ben Houchen.
Great. By the way, the jobs at the Teesworks Freeport aren't the only forms of employment in the area.
Sediment coming off it. Hit the button for the sediment. That's a different frequency. If you're on the sediment.
That was a fishing vessel recording sediment being dredged up from the area in preparation for the building of the infrastructures there. Jim McMahon, the Shadow Environment Secretary, spoke about this in the House of Commons last Thursday.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A year on from my request at this dispatch box for an urgent meeting on food security, the Government Farm to Fork Summit.
Sorry, the what summit?
The Government Farm to Fork Summit.
OK, can we try it with subtitles, please?
The Government Farm to Fork Summit was described by attendees as no more than a PR stunt that will do nothing to help the cost of living crisis. She knows too that fishing is a key pillar of our food security, but it's under grave threat on Teesside. Given that the crustacean die-offs continue to cripple generations of fishers, will she join me and demand that the inevitable Truth on Teesside public inquiry includes this environmental and economic disaster in its terms of reference?
OK, and he got a response from his opposite number, the effluent Therese Coffey.
And we will continue to use our scientists in order to make sure that we investigate as appropriate. But I'm afraid just peddling conspiracy theories is not something that's appropriate for a Shadow Secretary of State.
Well, you only need to listen to her speak to see why this government doesn't have a problem with scraping the bottom of the barrel. So, where are we now? Well, an inquiry had been asked into possible corruption into the Teesside Freeport, not just by the Labour Party, but by the chairman of the Business and Trade Committee. They were given assurances, but it looks like they lied about that as well. Or as the Deputy Speaker, Eleanor Lane, put it,
the Honourable Gentleman for his point of order and for having given me notice of his intention to raise this matter. A serious and apparently well-founded criticism. The Treasury bench will have heard what the Honourable Gentleman has said, and I hope that his concern, no doubt that what is actually done should accord precisely with what is said has been done.
Jesus Christ, no wonder they never get any work done. Well, the good news is that the Levelling Up Secretary, Michael Gove, has now ordered an independent investigation into the Teesworks project. The bad news is it won't be done by the National Audit Office. It will be done by another team appointed by Michael Gove, and only tasked with looking at whatever Gove gives them to look into, one of which won't be the millions of dead shellfish being washed up on the shores because of the dredging. And the rats are deserting the sinking ship, even though it's docked at the Freeport. The Freeport director, Nolan Gray, has left his position there to take up projects elsewhere. On the same day the inquiry was announced. Ben Houchen may well become a lord as part of the never-ending national ridiculousness that is Boris Johnson's honours list. And 4,500 acres of real estate has been handed over to 2 local businessmen, along with more perks than a shopping assistant in Hollywood. So much for this.
For us to take back control of this country. Can you hear me at the back? Yeah!
Thank you all so much for watching, and if you are enjoying these vids, then please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit all the notifications button so you don't miss another. And I'll see you all Sunday. Take care.